Well, my name is Anthony Magnabosco. Thank you for inviting me to your group and speaking again. This might be my fifth or sixth time I've spoken to the SSA. Who here is familiar with street epistemology? Show of hands. Just from the videos? Okay.
I looked up some.
Now, why aren't you raising your hand? I know you're familiar with
Oh, I did.
it. Okay. Yeah.
I think also another thing to consider is how we start embedding it into people's lives. We started questioning like retrospectively, but we want to, like, in a scenario where a lot of these people can be raised in an environment where they can question. For me, in my example of it, my younger brother, whether or not
AI?
Like a sin or something like that.
That sounds like a good topic. Will AI have rights?
Like, are there like any differences when it comes to younger audiences?
Younger audience, like children? There's a video on YouTube. His channel is Deep Discussions, and he has two daughters, and he brings them they're on their bed, they're bouncing around, and he gets them to settle down a little bit, and they start talking about, whether clownfish are real, or like the clownfish in Finding Nemo or something like that. And it's this really beautiful conversation. It's the exact same thing you would see in SE, but the kids they're so imaginative and they're curious, and they don't have the baggage that we have as adults. So maybe introducing these tools at a really young age is maybe one of the best things we can do. It might even be one of the most ethical and moral things we can do, possibly for humans. I don't know. Where you don't have all the baggage, and it's okay to question, and it's not demonic to doubt, but it's a useful thing to do. And I would love to start seeing materials being created. Perhaps they'll spring off of the big course that we've been working on for the last 2 years. And we're hoping the first 7 of the 20 modules will be done by June of this year, but we'll see. I'm hoping that people will understand SE really well and start designing tools for all ages. All ages, yeah. Because if you can start, the mess that we're in today is because we haven't done a good job of teaching people how to reason properly, how to really think carefully about our beliefs. And it's led to a whole bunch of problems. And it's, maybe it's a little harder to teach to an adult as opposed to a kid. I'd love to start seeing some materials in that regard. Are you familiar with anything along those lines? Christian street epistemology, or is that what you call it? Okay. Yes, yeah. So a big delineating line is if you notice the interviewer or the questioner or the SEer starting to share their views and trying to convince you with reasons why you shouldn't think that your thing is true, then it's probably not SE. SE is about really peeling back your reasoning process and getting to your reasons. Now, I might share my position why I don't think it's a good reason. It can be a back and forth like that, but I shouldn't be trying to convince you otherwise.
Yeah, that's what I noticed in that method, was providing the loaded questions to sort those reasons.
And thank you very much. And I've got some t-shirts up here. They're $30 each. I'm just joking. They're free. I've got 2 hats up here too, and a couple of boxes of Tic Tacs for the truth test. You guys know what this is? Did you see those in the videos yet?
You won on.
I did interview you. I thought you looked familiar. All right, thank you everybody. Appreciate it.
Really sorry, the daily grind got caught up to me, but I had come into contact with Jonathan Sheffield, a Christian apologist, where he will be soon collaborating with me in some upcoming projects to be decided. Up to this point, my public scene in apologetics has been backed by appearances in street epistemology for the most part, and as a result, I'd like to go on the public record clearly for everyone to judge the competence of my character with better discernment. It is ever more essential that these next steps I embark in this journey have a more transparent relationship with the communities I involve myself in regarding the authenticity of my actions. Now, I must say that for those of you who are well acquainted with the philosophy of this channel's marketing strategy, which I genuinely do not find at all problematic or deceptive, this so-called apology is just clickbait to grab your attention. Okay, not really. I do honestly go off too harsh on my interlocutors the wrong way, or even downright evil when I can't help myself but to put them beneath my place. There really is no justification for that, and I have no intention of trying to rationalize my action. But sometimes when you get repetitive comments that accuse you overly of, quote, being out to get Anthony Magnabosco, or, quote, lying for Christ, they become extremely bothersome. I admit, there are instances where I'm clearly at a moral disadvantage, one that I genuinely internalize and regret when retrospectively looking back. Using the street epistemology platform to do a one-hit apologetics piece from my buddies did not turn out to be a long-term help for serious critical thinkers, but it is still a good memory and overall funny. Honestly, at that time in my life, I could come off as a narcissistic person with personality issues, given any time of the day. I had just come out of many traumatic high school experiences I would not like to go into detail on YouTube's platform, nor do I use this as a means to justify my actions, but rather to explain that as of now, I'd like to believe that I'm a different person. I've lived long enough to know how God's been good to me in many ways, so even if life couldn't be imagined to get anything worse, the suffering honestly just passes by momentarily. I can't promise that every once in a while if an obnoxious ignoramus shows up to accuse me of being a fool, or worse, with a false moral accusation, that I won't intellectually atomize him. But over time, I can show y'all that through my actions, that I'm genuinely, effectively, making progressive steps towards a higher moral standing. That being said, I don't find jokes or clickbaits as lies I should be responsible for, as nobody should be taking a thumbnail seriously to begin with. I have no intention of taking my funny version down, or any of my clickbaits, as I find the entire situation funny from the get-go. The reason why part 3 of the interactions between me and Anthony Magnabosco went up was originally because of a deal negotiated to do a review on our videos. While part 3 painted our interactions as ending off on a bad note, me and Anthony are on very good terms now. We just decided to put it up for views and likes. Clearly, Anthony Magnabosco and I have no intention of taking the other parts down. Okay, so I've established that both of us posted a situation for views, but what about when I told Anthony I didn't know him when I did? Aside from the dumpster fire in the comment section where you will find nothing but slimy remarks, the only actual fruitful discussion I had with someone in the comment sections of all places was in this following thread. He cleverly referred to his friends as not being in the same group, so while he's in a fraternity or whatever, his friends aren't. So he was technically honest, except for when Anthony asked him directly. If he meant a group we are individually in, he would have asked us one by one as I explained earlier, but he asks us all, and at most, if he asks anyone individually, he would be asking somebody else. Are you all together? Are you all in the same group or something?
Are you all together? All together, all together, all together, all together, all together. You all in the same group, 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 same group. You're not part of any of the groups? You're certainly not? You're certainly not? You're certainly not? You're certainly not?
We know each other as friends, but we're not like in a group together.
Those don't sound like direct questions, but whatever, it was a misunderstanding. Yeah, it came across as that, but the guy also didn't clarify that he was in a group. That's why it seems dishonest. And he said that he didn't know about Anthony, but he had been in the Discord. That's probably what set up the distrust. And just to clarify, by the way, I am the guy. I honestly thought the whole purpose of the discussion is if we were out to debunk Anthony, and not a question of whether individually I was in a group. That's another reason why I interpreted it that way. Also, the unknown user, me, and the Discord joined shortly after the first discussion, which occurred November 15th, 2019, and that's something I cannot lie about. You can fact check that one. by going into the Street Epistemology Discord server history. That also wasn't explained in the video, which is why people misjudged you. I went back to hear that part and agree with you. I also see where the confirmation bias clouded other people's judgment. That's also why groups are problematic with SC. Are you all in the same group? Because I know there are a lot of Christian groups on campus. Leave out the rest of the question, why don't you? And then he did follow up by specifically asking, you're not part of any of the groups, any of the Christian groups. Your social awkwardness and not being able to follow a conversation don't get you out of lying about being part of a Christian group and being familiar with Anthony's videos. I'd like to make another video on social standards another day, but in short, my position is that if Jesus defied social standards, I too have the divine right to override social standards if it accords with the heart of the gospel. Anyone opposed to it will kneel and be destroyed by the fire. Just saw this now and decided to respond to it. I typically respond to comments on a per mood basis. Take a look at who Anthony is looking at when he is asking that question. Somebody else responded to Anthony, "No sir, we are not." And Anthony responded to him directly, "You're certainly not?" This is confirmed by him looking at that man, the cameraman, with which you can verify in my extra footage video. Also, he didn't give the cameraman the opportunity to respond to his any group's question. Anyway, familiarity with work is not the same thing as watching a single video. I overheard from friends that Anthony was controlling. I learned that he isn't after I met him. I said I may have watched one thing, as in I may have looked him up briefly. Might have googled him or something. But that's about it. I heard about him. Don't know him. Cope. All your accusations are 100% projections. Accusations? What accusations? I didn't accuse Anthony of anything in the video or in this thread. I just made logical arguments that this idiot couldn't refute. You accuse Anthony of deceptive editing, yet you release highly deceptively edited videos about him. Here I don't know what quote accusation he refers to, but in the offhand chance he's referring to me mentioning about selectively editing, I never made any direct accusations even then, but rather brought up the remote possibility and the implications thereof. You accuse him of lying, yet you're caught out in multiple lies. Even now you're trying to say you have heard about him, you went there with a group to trap him. You have watched at least one, maybe more videos, yet you don't even know of Anthony at all? That's not possible. And you're still lying, dude. Anthony looks right at your eyes when he says that, and you answered no. You answered that you weren't part of any on-campus Christian group. Somebody else responded to Anthony, "No sir, we are not," and Anthony responded to him directly, "You're certainly not?" Yes, Anthony was asking all of you, and both of you, and the camera guy answered no. He looked from you to the camera guy and back to you. You answered no, then the camera guy answered no. Why lie about something so inconsequential? Why go back to it after months? The reason you lie is because you were trying to trap Anthony and do a hit piece, but that didn't work out, and now you're seething still.
Bomb has been planted.
There is a difference between meeting somebody personally and having knowledge about somebody at a cursory level, and I demonstrate absolute proof in the following screenshot that this was absolutely the case in my scenario. I never accused Anthony of anything, let alone deceptive editing. I only brought up the remote possibility of selective editing. Clickbait is a hook for attention grabbing, but there are no actual lies. I said I never met Anthony personally, but I clearly know about Anthony at a high level. If you fail to grasp this concept, there is no use in conversing with you. Anthony looks at my eyes after I say we are not in a group together, but before that, when he isn't looking at me, it looks like I was stuttering. If he is talking to all of us, then he obviously is asking if we are all in a group together. Otherwise, it would be a separate question for each person, which failed to articulate if that was the case. Trap Anthony? I don't know why people come to that abhorrently illogically stupid conclusion. I put a screenshot in my video to accuse myself? The screenshot was there in my video to prove my innocence. It demonstrates that upon receiving knowledge of his arrival at UTSA that day, I know of Anthony's existence, but don't know enough about him to know what he looks like. Obviously, I wouldn't be roasting people accusing me if I previously boasted about lying before. By the way, that wasn't my intention. But now it's come to the point where I simply choose whether or not it's worth my time to respond to an accusation depending on my mood. Most of the time I deem the accusers as unworthy of my proof of innocence. Then, me having the impatience of, well, not a very patient person, I go ahead and call him out for being a despicable piece of shit he is. But anyway, some accusations I can relate to where the atheist community comes from, but I don't necessarily buy fully into the idea that people can never self-assess their own intelligence. There's absolutely nothing wrong with somebody calling themselves intelligent, provided the right context with referencing their credentials. The question is if I was boasting or not, or was I simply trying to demonstrate another point. In scenario 2, where I was simply defending that I didn't stalk Anthony Magnabosco and watch 20 street epistemology videos or whatever, that certainly seems to be the scenario. But maybe the boasting argument can be made for when I declared myself intelligent the first time in part 1. Who knows? The other accusation regarding me having a list of things to say in video 2, and yet coming to Anthony because I'm quote bored probably bears some merit. I honestly don't remember how I got that list. I also don't remember saying that people shouldn't selectively edit, and yet down the line, my personal philosophy changed to allow for me to make a clickbait funny piece of the conversation. I wasn't recording myself at the time or had access to Anthony's recording until much later, but then again, clickbait shouldn't be taken too seriously. Then there's me supposedly interrupting conversations, to put it lightly. Me and this girl were in a friend group, not campus group, friend group, at least during freshman year. Which is why we show up together in this part 3 video. So was I giving consent to strangers' conversation in part 1? What a pathetic interpretation. They have complete control on whether to proceed whether I am there or not, and there's no reason to think they wouldn't want me listening as they were listening to my conversation. So in short, it's the accuser's fault for thinking I am, quote, giving consent for people to have conversations. It's like saying I'm giving consent to people I watch on television to have a conversation. I'm just watching them. Although I must admit, I didn't get the memo so well in the third video for someone I don't know, who wasn't in my friend group. In conclusion, me and Anthony frequently message each other on DMs, talk about ideological distinctives, current events, and whatnot. And he invited me to a Secular Student Alliance talk. I didn't get the chance to upload a community post of a selfie of us together, but yeah, for what it's worth, in his own words, he doesn't hold any, quote, hard feelings against me or anything. Likewise, I'm indebted to the guy, and owe him a bunch for getting my Apollo's persona out to the public. So while he is busy on other projects to embed street epistemology into the culture, instead of just reusing it solely on religious claims, I could always receive an extra medium t-shirt. So I hope that brings clarity for you guys to come to your own informed conclusion on the whole situation for those of you just watching the scenario take place years after it had happened. Most of us, particularly Anthony and I, have already put it behind us. But I hope this finds encouragement in both believers and non-believers alike, that people change and have inner complexities that may not be revealed unless uncovered. God bless y'all and take care. Peace.